Hello, my speech today will be how an early childhood education can help build a child's brain and benefit a child in the long-term future. By the end of my speech, I hope you will understand and appreciate the value of an early childhood education. Many people have the belief or have been persuaded to think as long as their child enters kindergarten on time that they are doing well. And this can be true for the children that receive consistent and positive interactions from adults and caregivers. However, many children do not receive the support and guidance from home, and certain brain functions and social and emotional skills needed to interact successfully in a group setting do not develop. Throughout my speech, I hope to inform you of the benefits an early childhood education can give to a child in the short term and in the long term. I will also provide information about what can happen to a child's brain functions and social and emotional state when not given the opportunity for an early childhood education or the needed interactions from adults and caregivers. A child's early experience in life has a lasting impact on the architecture of a child's brain. According to the Center of the Developing Child at the Harvard University, genes provide the basic blueprint, but experiences shape the process that determines whether a child's brain will provide a strong or a weak foundation for all future learning and mental health. During the early critical years, which are birth to 4 years, billions of brain cells, called neurons, send electrical signals to communicate with each other. These connections form circuits that become the foundation of the brain's architecture. These circuits and connections multiply at a very rapid pace and are reinforced and made stronger when used repeatedly. On the other hand, the same circuit connections that are not used can fade away through a process called pruning. In terms more easily understandable, what this means is adult and child interaction and child-to-child interaction on a regular basis will build strong brains and help with critical thinking skills that will result in success throughout a lifetime. Every time a child is read a book or asked a question or simply discusses their surroundings, they are firing neurons in the brain, building connections that will help build a strong foundation that will then build more complex circuits throughout the brain. Meaning, the more brain development that happens when a child is young, the easier it is for a child to develop more complex thinking skills, such as problem solving, following directions, working memory, reading and writing skills. And as you can imagine, the easier these skills come to a child, the more frequently the child will seek them out. If you think about it, it makes sense. If a child has an easier time learning to read and write, they're going to enjoy reading and writing more, which means they will then seek it out more often. A child that does not necessarily learn to read or write very well and struggles and has a hard time will not seek it out as often. The process I discussed earlier called pruning is when a child is left without adult interaction or peer interaction. These same circuits and connections we discussed that multiply, they will eventually fade away when they are not being used, such as watching TV, being left unattended, or being left without being spoken to, or their needs being unmet. Now keep in mind, this does not always result in a case of neglect. This could simply be a parent at home, working from home, that is busy throughout the day and unable to attend to the child's needs. They may watch too much TV, or they may be unattended too often, and they may not have the chance to build the same brain structure that a child that has consistent peer interaction or consistent adult to child interaction may have. I have a video to show you that may help make more sense.
The key to forming strong brain architecture is what's known as serve and return interaction with adults. In this developmental game, new neural connections form in the brain as young children instinctively serve through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures. And adults return the serve, responding in a very directed, meaningful way. It starts very early in life when a baby coos and the adult interacts and directs the baby's attention to a face or hand. This interaction forms the foundation of brain architecture upon which all future development will be built. It helps create neural connections between all the different areas of the brain, building the emotional and cognitive skills children need in life. For example, here's how it works for literacy and language skills. When the baby sees an object, the adult says its name. This makes connections in the baby's brain between particular sounds and their corresponding objects. Later, adults show young children that those objects and sounds can also be represented by marks on a page. With continued support from adults, children then learn how to decipher writing and eventually to write themselves. Each stage builds on what came before. Ensuring that children have adult caregivers who consistently engage in serve and return interaction, beginning in infancy, builds a foundation in the brain for all the learning, behavior, and health that follow.
As you can see from watching the movie and from watching the short video and from what I have told you already, positive interaction for young children is critical to their future success. Not just in the sense of a successful career, but having successful relationships, interacting positively in a group setting, and having a sense of self-worth. I feel one of the most important pieces of the puzzles that many of these studies and many research do not reflect is how important a sense of self-worth is for a child. When a child struggles to learn and understand and struggles to process the information they are giving, this will diminish their self-worth, their sense of pride. It will affect the way they feel about themselves. Some children possibly more so than others. The children that generally do not feel successful in school and struggle with learning and understanding the world around them also tend to struggle with the relationships they're building with their peers. And they also tend to struggle to self-regulate, meaning they will then have behavioral issues, impulse control. They will not be quite as self-disciplined as others. So the self-worth is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. And this can definitely be beneficial for a child if they have the early start and the early brain development and the early skills taught to them. Over the years, I've taught hundreds of children ages 12 months to 12 years, and many times even infants. Throughout the years, I have learned with numerous experiences with the children and different families. I've had the opportunity to see many different siblings, and now I have even had the opportunity to watch many of these children grow into their adult lives. And I have witnessed time after time what an early childhood education can do for a child. To me, as an early childhood provider, I feel there is not a more fulfilling feeling than to see the children start young and have a wonderful feeling about themselves and to learn and to be positive and to enjoy learning. And when they start young, those brain functions we discussed grow, and it makes learning easier for them, which at that point they then seek out learning and more opportunities to learn. They tend to have a drive and motivation for learning new things and wanting to understand the world around them. They tend to make friendships easier than others, and they tend to hold those friendships longer. The bonds that I watch them create with their peers is wonderful. Now, on the other hand, I have also, unfortunately, seen the children that do not get the early start. I have met many children in my after-school program that were not put into school until kindergarten, and they seem to struggle a little more. They might not come from stable home where they have the same opportunities given to them as many children with an early childhood education. So as you can see, I hope you understand now the benefits of an early childhood education, and I hope you can value them. Thank you.